Today, we're going to be diving into how to recognize if the mother wound is showing up in your adult life, and of course, how you can take some actionable steps to find a sense of safety in your body and feel more secure in your relationships. Hi, my loves. Welcome to Body Wisdom, your podcast for all things related to nervous system regulation, feeling grounded in your body, and improving your relationships. I'm your host, Courtney Beyer, a holistic occupational therapist and yoga instructor based in Southern California. I am incredibly passionate about helping women connect to their mind, body, and soul to heal from trauma and truly thrive in their lives. If that sounds like you are in the right place. So grab your headphones and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Body Wisdom Podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a really important topic, especially when it comes to healing your attachment style. If you resonate with feeling anxiously attached in your relationships, and if you have a difficult time with finding safety in your body and self-soothing your physical and emotional body, and that is all about the mother wound. Today, we're going to be diving into how to recognize if the mother wound is showing up in your adult life, and of course, how you can take some actionable steps to find a sense of safety in your body and feel more secure in your relationships. So let's get into it. The mother wound is so important to understand because often, especially as women, when we grow up into adults, we have an inner voice. And a lot of times that inner voice is driven by what we were raised with and that voice of our mothers. And it can be very difficult sometimes to tease out when, especially if you are trying to make a decision about something and you're wondering, is this really what I'm desiring in my life? Or is this just the voice of my mother showing up in my life? And that is going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up in decisions that you make in your life and so many things. So it's so important to understand if this is something that you are dealing with and how to heal this process. Because here's the thing, our relationship with our mothers is the foundation to our attachment style. It is the foundation of who we are and what we grow up to be. And that is because our relationship with our mother, that is the first relationship that we have when we come into the world. And actually, it all begins when we are in our mother's womb. There's a lot of internalization and trauma that can begin when you are in the womb. And sometimes later in life, you might be thinking, why do I behave this way? And that can be linked to the mother wounds. I also want to say that there is no perfect mother-child relationship out there. And it's really important to remember that when we are talking about the mother wound, we can have so much compassion for our mothers and recognize that they are not perfect humans. I actually just got off the phone with my mom a little bit ago. I have a wonderful relationship with my mother. And at the same time, I can hold the duality in my body that she is not perfect. And there are certain things that I had to heal as an adult that came from the relationship that I had with my mother or the mother wound. So it's important to hold that duality in our bodies and not, as you start to awaken to this information, hold a grudge against your mom or think that, well, I love my mom so much, so there's no way that I can have a mother wound because we had a really good relationship. If you are the type of person that looks back at your childhood and you think, oh my gosh, I only had wonderful things happen. There's no way I have any sort of child wounds or a mother wound or a father wound. That is actually impossible because we are not perfect humans. We were not raised by perfect humans. And so it's really important to have that compassion and also understanding that while we can look back and see our childhood as a very positive experience, that does not mean that we turn into adults that don't have a certain degree of issues or things that we need to look inside and heal. The other thing that I want to mention is that the relationship that you had with your mother or lack thereof, it doesn't necessarily need to be your biological mother. I have a lot of clients that have asked, well, what if I was adopted? And the mother wound, so the relationship that you had with your biological mother, whether or not that was a very short relationship, it still is going to have an impact on your body. There's a lot of generational trauma that we carry through our bloodline. And at the same time, you can also look at the primary female caregiver in your life when you're thinking about healing the mother wounds. So when you think about the mother wound, you might want to think about the consistency. So maybe she was there sometimes, but not all of the times, and how that can contribute to feeling as though, okay, if my mother did not pick me up when I was crying and soothe my body, that is why I have a difficult time soothing myself. Because in order to establish that sense of safety within, we have to learn what safety is through co-regulation with our mother. And co-regulation just means that when you are feeling distressed, so maybe an infant crying, was there somebody there to pick you up, hold you, rub your back, and tell you that you are okay, everything is okay? That is a co-regulation experience. And if that was not something that you had, that can have you grow up as an adult that feels, okay, my physical and emotional needs are not worthy. And so you might have a difficult time self-soothing, and you might rely and desperately hope that there's going to be somebody that soothes you. But the reality is you just did not learn how to do that as a baby. And that goes back to what I was saying initially, that the relationship that we have with our mother is the foundation to our attachment style, because this develops your sense of self. Or how consistent was your mother with showing up for your needs? I will give you a little example, and this is something that I actually joke about with my mom, and it's something that I have healed in myself, but it did take a while to heal. And I like to give these real life examples, not to throw my mom under the bus by any means. Again, I have a wonderful relationship with her, and I'm very grateful for her in my life, but we are able to joke about this now. But when I was in elementary school and middle school, my mom, she worked as well. She was an amazing real estate agent and was very busy. And so after school, my sister and I, after we would play sports and all the kids would be waiting to be picked up by their parents, my mom was often very late. And not just like 10 minutes late, but like 20 minutes late, 30 minutes late. It was always such a thing. And I always laugh now. And I always tell my mom, like, oh my gosh, you caused so much trauma on me because you weren't there to pick me up and show me that my needs were worth it. When in reality, she was very busy, and we were able to participate in some of the like after school programs. But still, in my mind, I was thinking as a very young child, oh, okay, I guess I'm not worthy of being picked up on time. I would look at other kids that I was friends with, and their moms would be like waiting in their cars to pick their kids up. And I would always be so jealous, wishing that my mom could pick me up. And when I grew up and started dating, I was normalizing the fact that somebody would be really late to pick me up, and that would make me feel really bad. And, looking back, I can justify why my mom was late, and I can see her side of things as well. But when you're so young, you really don't have that awareness and ability to see that perspective effective. And what it's communicating to you is that you're just not worthy of having your needs be met. So it was definitely something that I had to heal. So let me know if you can relate to that experience, because that definitely was something that older Courtney had to send some healing to, and also give a lot of compassion and forgiveness and love to my mom as well. So when there's that ambivalence, that inconsistency with your mom meeting your needs, this might lead to an anxious attachment style. And also, it can lead to somebody that desires to have a lot of reassurance because they once did not have the reassurance that they really needed when they were younger. And it's also important to remember that a compassionate mother is somebody that is compassionate with themselves. I know in our female world that there can be a lot of perfectionism, control, trying to micromanage every little thing. And while at the same time trying to display that you have this perfect life. And that can also be something that the mother puts on their child, and the child starts to think that that is their own voice, when in reality, it's the voice of their mother. So it's important to have that compassion for yourself so that when you have children, or when you already have children, you can display that compassion for them as well as yourself, and they will pick up on that. So a mother that is consistent with meeting the physical and emotional needs of her daughters and her sons is going to help her child have a secure attachment, because they will feel that their needs are being taken care of, and that they are worthy of having their needs being taken care of, which will then help them grow up and flourish into an adult that has a very secure attachment style. So that's a quick review of the mother wound. Now that you know what the mother wound is, here are some examples of how the mother wound might show up in your adult life. So, the first thing that you might recognize is that you just have a difficult time in your relationships. And that can be romantic relationships, and it can also be friendships as well. It can also be relationships with your coworkers, your siblings, and any kind of relationship out there. And the reason why is that since you have a difficult time soothing yourself, you might feel that you need a lot of reassurance from others, including your boyfriend, your husband, your siblings, your best friend. You might need a lot of reassurance. So you're constantly grasping for that reassurance and looking for validation that is outside of you. And that can lead to a lot of codependency in your relationships. Maybe you feel okay only if you have validation from your best friend or reassurance from your husband. And that can, again, lead to a codependent relationship where you're only okay if that other person has validated you and made you feel okay in your body. So it can cause a lot of imbalances in your friendships and your relationships, because there's a little bit of heaviness and stickiness when it comes to that need, that desire for reassurance. This also can come off as feeling really clingy, and it again will feel off balance, because when you are clingy, that means that you are grasping for that other person to validate you, and it's just going to feel imbalanced. And especially if somebody has an avoidant attachment style, they might kind of want to push you away and feel uncomfortable with how much space you're taking up by that need of constantly needing reassurance. Another thing that might show up in your adult life is having low confidence in yourself. And this stems from, again, that inconsistency in your needs not being met. And so you grow up thinking that you are unworthy of having your needs be met. And that leads to feeling overall just a lack of confidence in yourself, because you just don't feel worthy. You also might feel that you are not important enough. Maybe you had a mother relationship that told you that we had to do other things instead of meet your physical and emotional needs, and your needs are not important enough, and you're just going to have to suck it up. And so you suck it up, and then you grow up into an adult that thinks that, okay, my needs are not worthy of being met. The other thing is that your mom's voice can often be very critical. That is something that as women, we have to send so much healing and love to, because we can often be very critical of ourselves and others. And especially when you're a mom and you have the stress just kind of on your shoulders, something that can happen is you can become very critical of yourself. And that inner voice that you grow up with is often very critical, very nitpicky, and makes you feel very unworthy and have a sense of not a whole lot of confidence in yourself. Something else that can come up when you have low confidence in yourself is imposter syndrome. That can really kick in, because if you don't feel worthy, you might then later in your career and your life feel as though you are an imposter and that you are not good enough to be seen, heard, and valued. You can become very judgmental of yourself and of others. So if you notice that you are often gossiping a lot and spending a lot of time judging others, and it's so easy to see this, and it's so easy now that we have access to social media and the internet, it's very easy to pick out if you're judging others and really quick to come to assumptions about somebody else. Another thing that can come up and show up in your adult life when you are experiencing the mother wound is you can have a total lack of boundaries in your life. And this is because there is a deep fear of being abandoned. When you are a small child and your needs were not consistently met by your mother, the most important person in your life, you will grow up to thinking that, oh my goodness, if my mother could abandon me, then who's to say that somebody else won't abandon me? And so what happens is that fear of abandonment leads to people pleasing, that need for putting others' needs in front of ours and pleasing them so that we don't rock the boat and potentially be abandoned. Something else that can come up is a significant issue with trusting others. So you might recognize that you have a really difficult time trusting your friends or your significant other. Maybe your boyfriend set up a date for you on Friday and you're wondering the whole week, you're stressing out because you're not even sure if it's all going to happen. And then he says that he's going out with his guy friends on Saturday, and that sends you into a spiral because you just don't trust him, because you just have this general lack of trust in people. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some actionable steps that you can take to heal that mother wound and to feel like you can have that sense of safety within your body and soothe your physical and emotional body. So let's get into it. So the first thing that is so important to do, and we talked about this a little bit in the beginning of the podcast, is to take the idea of having a perfect mother off of the pedestal. This is also something that we have to recognize in our society, that we are often glorifying this idea of having a perfect mom, of having a perfect childhood and life. And that's just, again, it's not possible, and it's not something that we should strive to have. We want to send love and compassion to our mothers for not being perfect, and recognize that it is okay that you didn't have the perfect childhood. It is okay that you didn't have the perfect mother-daughter relationship. The mother-daughter relationship is very complicated, and it's simply okay to grieve the idea that we wished we would have had this perfect experience, because I can guarantee you that even those people that you saw when you were younger that you thought had the perfect relationship with their mom, that you wish that you had that relationship, I can guarantee you that it was not perfect, and that that child has become an adult that also is having to heal some things that came up between them and their mother. And it's also important to lean into the acceptance of the humanness of your mom and understand that, again, she's not perfect. And we also can lean into accepting ourselves as not perfect as well, and giving us so much love and compassion and holding that duality in our body where we love our moms so much. And at the same time, understand that there's things that have come alive in our body that we desire to heal. Two emotions that can come up with the mother wound are shame and guilt. And that is because the hope of having that perfect mother leads to a lot of guilt. And then not having that experience, we can often shame ourselves. And so those are two really heavy emotions. And we want to spend some time grieving the idea that that was all supposed to happen. So it's important to recognize what your grieving process looks like. Is it something that you maybe want to write a forgiveness letter to your mom and not send it to her, maybe just tear it up and throw it away? Or maybe it is have a conversation about some of the things that you're recognizing and send her so much love, and also have her understand that a lot of her patterns came from her mother and that these are just things that have been passed down the generations, and that we are the ones that want to break these cycles. So we have to be very wise and discerning about how we communicate that. It's something that I often recommend writing a forgiveness letter and holding that in your heart. And then from that might shift your energy in a lot of ways. And I know that your mom will feel that shift in your energy, and it will create a really big healing ripple in your relationship. It's also important to take an inventory of all of your relationships in your life. So often, what we want to do when we are healing is we repeat these patterns over and over again, and we continue to create these relationship dynamics because we have a desire deep down in our bodies to heal this experience. However, what often happens is that we keep repeating the cycles over and over again instead of healing. And so it's important to take inventory of your relationships. You want to look at the people that you're spending most of your time with, your husband, boyfriend, significant other, your friendships. You want to look at those and notice any behaviors that you are playing out that you have learned and continue to hold in your body that is from the mother wound. And when you take inventory of that, you can see, okay, am I people pleasing in these situations? Am I sticking up for my needs? Am I placing my own needs first when appropriate? Am I taking on the role of being really critical of this person, which is the critical voice of my mother, and really taking an idea and looking into those relationships and being discerning with where the mother wound is coming up in your relationships? Another healing step to take is to pay attention to how you are taking care of your physical and emotional needs. Even things like when you're hungry, are you feeding yourself with nourishing foods? When you have to go to the bathroom, are you going to the bathroom, or are you holding it thinking that you are just going to put it off and do it another time? When you are feeling uncomfortable in your body, are you moving your body and exercising? Or are you just deciding to stay on the couch and thinking that you'll do it another day? Really pay attention to how much are you taking care of your own needs and paying attention to those sensations in your body. And it sounds kind of simple at first, but it really does get to be this simple where the more that you take care of yourself, the more that you will create that safety, and your body will start to feel that you are taking care of it and that you are safety. The next actionable step that you can take is learn how to regulate the unique needs of your nervous system. The more consistent you are in regulating and coming back to your body to regulate your nervous system, the more that you are going to communicate to your body that you have your back and that you are safe. And the last step that I will give is to find a trusted mentor or friend that you can talk to that will lend you that love and compassion that you have often searched for. This is so important because we are not meant to walk through this world alone. We are not meant to figure this work out by ourselves. And often, when we lack that sense of compassion for ourselves, it can be so healing when we have a loving friend or therapist or mentor provide that love and help us move through, co-regulate with us through these experiences. A bonus tip that I will give that I actually just thought of is to also do things that you used to love to do when you were a child. And you can also treat your children the way that you wished that you were treated. I don't have children yet, but with my niece and nephews, I pour love into them the way that I wish that I was treated in certain ways when I was a child. And I often give them a lot of love and compassion that I know that I would have loved to receive as a child as well. And again, if you are looking to do the embodiment work and do embodiment practices where you can really release this mother wound from your body and provide that self-compassion for yourself, I do have a mother wound masterclass on my website that I do believe that many of you will find very soothing. So definitely check that out. I will also link it in the show notes. So just to recap, we are meant to send our mothers so much love and compassion and recognize that there is no such thing as the perfect mother. When you are an adult, certain things that are coming up because of that mother wound, you can send compassion and healing to yourself and your mother. And then there's so many actionable steps that you can take to heal the mother wound that you have in your body. And I definitely recommend checking out that mother wound masterclass that I have, because that is a really powerful forgiveness letter exercise and self-compassion embodiment practice that you can move through that will be so healing. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. Send me a DM if this resonates with you at all, or leave a comment. I love to connect with you all, and I'm excited to talk to you again next week. Okay, my loves, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really love hearing from you all about how the show resonated with you, and would love it if you sent me a DM on Instagram to @herbodywisdom to keep the convo going. If you are loving the show, it would mean so much to me if you left a quick rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you so much for listening. Catch you next time.